Good morning, everyone. It's 9 a.m. It's Thursday, which means it's time for Coffee Kickstarter. And of course, we're the Property Angels. So we come from three professional careers. Sarah, a solicitor, myself, a former accountant and business strategist, and Sam, a police detective. And of course, this week we've got another great guest with us, James Kent. But first, before we get to that, we'd like to introduce ourselves first. So Sarah, would you like to briefly talk about yourself?
Sure. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us. Today is Sam Beddoes' birthday, so a big happy birthday to Sam, and thank you for being with us.
Yay.
Thank you. I know you've got exciting plans later, but yeah, thanks for joining us this morning. My name is Sarah Smith. I'm one of the property angels here. Bought my first property in 2004, and definitely not as an investment, just to live in. And every 2 years I managed to retain the previous property and buy another one and live there, and then retain those two and then live in the next one. And I did that 4 times, and got me thinking about property, and that it was probably more than just a hobby that I could do. So I worked as a solicitor in London for 8 years. And when I was making more from property than from my job as a solicitor, I went full-time in property, which was 2016. Over my 16 years or whatever it is in property, I've done lots of bits and pieces. I've owned an estate agency for 4 years. In the early days, Sam and I had a rent-to-rent company. Sam and I have done a few other things together, like a flip purchase. And I've mainly focused on my own portfolio building, single lets and HMO properties. I have done other things on the side, including Southampton Property Show, and hosting Partners in Property with these two lovely ladies, which is an excellent networking meeting, which we host once a month, which is an all-day meeting in Southampton. That's me.
Brilliant. Thank you. So Sam, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Sam Beddoes. I've got a couple of property companies, but before that I was 23 years as a police detective, dealing with murders, blackmail, human trafficking, those sort of things. The work-life balance became difficult to balance, so I had to make a choice, and that's why I came away from the police force and why I'm in property. I had experience in property when I was in my early 20s with working in estate agencies and working with a house building company. So I always had the taste for it. I just got busy with the policing career. So I've been full-time in property, probably 5 or 6 years now. Used a variety of property models, whether that's buy-to-let, HMO, rent-to-rent, service accommodation, commercial conversions. Like Sarah says, we've bought things in auction, we've flipped, we've renovated, used SaaS funds, worked with JV partners, worked with investor funds. So a real variety of things. And now I have 2 companies. One is with the service accommodation, and the other one is a development company, Revive Holdings, and that's where my main focus is with Revive Holdings. I like to find a tatty, horrible building and turn it into something lovely for somebody's home. So that's about me.
Brilliant. Thanks, Sam. I'm going to quickly jump in and introduce myself before handing back to Sarah. So I am Karen Stanbridge, and so I originally trained as an accountant. Somebody had to, right? I then went on to work in project and program management and business consultancy in big blue chip industry. I escaped that land back in 2015, but leveraging the skills I had, managing out of control projects, bringing programs into control, managing change, putting together big strategic plans to drive forward, I was able to build my property business safely from solid foundations, creating sustainable wealth both for now and for the future. So I focus on finding land and adding value, finding dwellings, creating value, beautiful homes, etc., etc. And right now we're starting to case study some of our previous projects and some of the projects we walked away from. And you can see that on our Property Angels Facebook page. Anyway, that's me done. So can I hand back to Sarah, please?
Sure, thanks guys. So this morning we're really pleased to welcome James Kent. Welcome, James.
Hiya, thanks for having me.
No problem. So we'll go into your story a bit, but James is a landlord in Southampton, which is where I'm based. I probably met you first through your dad, actually.
I think so, yeah.
Who's also a landlord. Through my estate agency, we used to do some bits and pieces for letting his properties and things. And you had a big role in Southampton Property Show as well, with your business Safe2. But do you want to tell us where your sort of first interest in property came from?
Yeah, so the first interest is always, like you said, so my dad has been in property. He's been in property for a long time, so I've grown up watching him, helping him. I remember being at school and helping him out on his properties, trying to do them up and help with painting the weekends, so extra pocket money. And it was from there really that it grew into something of an interest. It was always an ambition to get into the property side of things. So I'm a gas engineer by trade. That's the background. So I always knew I wanted to do something into property. Again, it was my dad that pushed me to be a gas engineer. He's like, "You can do anything, just go and do plumbing." So that's where it all began. Yeah, and I remember I got my first property. I think it was about 2008. It was where it all began.
Tell us about that first property you bought in 2008.
Okay, so I managed to save a little bit of money up doing this, that, and the other, and actually got a little bit lucky because it was just the bottom of the recession. So 2008, house prices plummeted, and that was the only reason that I was able to afford a house. It was in Eastleigh. It was a 3-bed terrace, and the people there, they were a bit desperate just to offload it. So I did get a very good deal, a very good price, and it just needed a little bit of work to it. So a bathroom in there, a little bit of plastering, electrics, plumbing, kitchen, and again, I was just lucky that the house prices went up, so I managed to have a little bit of equity in there and managed to borrow against it. Then that was the first buy to let from there.
I have a few terrace houses in Eastleigh, and you must have got incredible prices buying in 2008.
Yeah, I think I bought it was a 3-bed terrace. It was by the college. I think I bought it for 120.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think I remortgaged it 3 or 4 years later. I think it was valued at I think it was 210, something like that, and then I sold it a few years later again for like 245, 250, something like that. So
Yeah.
I did quite lucky from that one, and it was luck. It was just that because at the point where I had a little bit of extra money and the prices for the houses were just rock bottom, I managed to be able to get one.
Fortune favours the brave. So on that first one, did you do all the work yourself, or you had the connections to have a team to do the work? Or
piggybacking off Dad, I managed to get a circle of people that would help me out. It was the classic, you bring in your friends to help the labouring at the weekends, the painting, the knocking the plaster off, taking the bathroom out. I was a plumber at the time, so I was happy doing the boiler, the plumbing, and the bathroom. But I called in favours for the kitchen, laminate flooring, things like that. Yeah, but like I said, from Dad being in the trade anyway, I managed to call on a lot of favours.
so would you say, do you usually try to buy and hold, or are you usually buying to sell?
Buying to hold, to remortgage. I was always told, you borrow somebody else's money to make money of your own. So you're borrowing the bank's money, you're borrowing money against the house to get your next one. So that's the kind of philosophy I just live by. And it's buy it, hold on to it, get as much value from it as you can, and draw as much from it as you can to get the next one.
Yeah, someone said to me, buying a house is a no-brainer. Because the bank lends you the money to buy it, and then the tenant pays the mortgage. I mean, what's not to like, really? So would you talk us through what you consider to be your biggest success in a particular project you've done?
Okay. So actually, the biggest success I had was the very first buy to let that I had. So like I said, I managed to draw a bit of money from the terrace house in Eastleigh, and I bought it was a 4-bedroom, 3-story house in Beavers Valley in Southampton, and it was on for 195, and it'd been on for a few months, and I remember thinking, why has nobody snapped this up? It seems like a too good to be true kind of thing. So obviously put my offer in, it's accepted. And I do remember the 3 or 4 months in the process of getting it, just crossing my fingers the entire time, thinking it was too good to be true and someone's gonna, snap it from under me. But no, I remember completing it and went in there, and I think just by moving a few sockets, I think I spent less than 10 grand on it, and I turned it into a 6-bed HMO. Which was a phenomenal area for students. And I remember, it commanded quite a high price for it, and every year it was just rented. And I do remember thinking, can't always be this easy, can it? But it certainly wasn't. I just got lucky on the first one. That it's less than 10 grand spending, and six-bed HMO that commanded I think it was a 2,200, 2,400 a month rent from it. So,
And that's without paying the bills, isn't it? Because the student tenants pay their own bills.
they pay their own bills. Yeah, I did have it was quite a big mortgage on it, because obviously first buy to let, so I did have to get a big mortgage on it. But yeah, and then that more than covered it. So I was well chuffed.
And is that HMO still going, or have you?
Yeah, no, it's
something
been
else with
going.
that?
Yeah, absolutely. She's still there. She's still ticking over. It's been a little bit difficult, more with the students. Obviously, the last few years, the price going up, the difference in it. One year, actually, we had professionals, so we rented them room by room, which wasn't a problem at all. A little bit more work, but you get the same sort of return for it. And but no, it's back being students now. So.
And what are your thoughts on the student market in Southampton in general?
I'm a little cautious of it. I think students have a lot of options now, which is a good thing, and it will weed out a lot of the let's just say the poorer properties, the ones that aren't in such good condition. So it will force landlords to raise the standards of the house, which is only a good thing.
Yeah.
But the students definitely are more picky, and I think they just don't know if the demand is there than what it was before.
Okay, so you've talked us through a success story. Can you talk us through a project that perhaps didn't go so well and share any lessons that you learned from that along the way?
Okay, so again, I bought a 4-bedroom house, literally probably half a mile away from the other one, and it had a massive side garden and like almost a back garden. And I remember seeing it with Dad. We both looked at it and we're like, there is no way we won't be able to put it, because it was a terrace and a terrace. There's no way that we wouldn't be able to put a house next to it. But easily get plan permission. There's no problem at all. One down there's done it, one down there's done it, and we bought it without doing any kind of due diligence on it. And then once we got the planning, the officer came around and went, "No, you're not getting that." And we fought it as much as we could, but I paid a little extra for the house of what I should have done, because I was certain I was going to get at least a decent extension, if not an entire end of terrace on it. But no, I overlooked the fact that I should have spoken to the council before the planning offer beforehand, and maybe asked his advice before I went too far with it.
So the full planning didn't go through?
Didn't go through at all. I think it was by 6 inches. It's difficult to explain, but the front of it was all right, and then the back sort of it nipped in 6 inches, which would have had an impact on the roof going up, and then it would have made the roof line slightly different for the rest of the building. And they didn't like that. They didn't think it would look the same as the rest of them. So I wasn't allowed it, and I couldn't narrow it by 6 inches either, because again, each house in the row was the same width. So to have a thinner one on the end, they didn't like that either.
So did you end up retaining that property, or what did you do with that property?
It kept. There's a saying which I won't say, but it it kept it, the mortgage and the rent covered each other. So it was kind of just ticking over. So I was happy to keep it for a little while. I kept it for about 2 years. And after the 2 years, I've kind of conceded that I wasn't going to get much on it. And what I was going to get wouldn't really add much value to the house. So I sold it.
Okay, so talking about your current investment strategy, what are you focusing on right now?
At the moment, so I have the rental properties which are ticking over. They're doing well. There's a fair amount of equity in there, but I'm leaving that at the moment. As for investing, I'm going to concentrate on the family home. So I did that 5 or 6 years ago. I bought the house I'm in now. Refurbed it, gave it a good one, and then the family moved in there. We got married, we had some kids, and now hopefully in the next year or two I can take the equity out of that and upscale from the family side of things. My wife always told me I'm not allowed to spend the house money on business, so the business money stays there and then the house money can stay there. So it's a good thing, really.
Wise woman.
Absolutely.
So with the family home, you sort of followed the investing sort of blueprint, as in you bought a doer-upper, did everything to it, and you've made a load of equity.
Yeah, absolutely that. Yeah, it was bought to, it was a bit of, it wasn't a bad condition at all. It was just very, very dated, and it's all about having that imagination to be able to see what it can be. Taking one wall out here or just moving I remember we swapped, the kitchen was one end and we swapped it to the other end, and it just made everything a little bit better. So it's just having an eye for it, that's all.
Yeah. So we've talked a little bit, we've touched on your trading business. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about Safe2?
Yes, that's the phone ringing now, actually, sorry.
Oh, sorry, that's yours.
Oh yeah, it is this one. So Safe2, yeah, we deal with property safety certificates. Sorry, Amy, do you mind answering your phone? Yeah, we deal with property safety certificates. I'm ever so sorry. Do you know what? That's really bad. Okay, so yeah, we deal with property safety certificates for properties. So we deal with being a landlord and being a gas engineer. I saw that the slow progress and how much of a pain it can be to organise safety certificates. So I found a little gap in the market, and we've created a property safety certificate management system online to help out landlords, letting agents. It's just a one-click order, and you can get any certificate that you need for the property.
So it's sort of like a one-stop shop, isn't it? It means that landlords don't have to phone lots of different gas engineers or find a reliable electrician. They can just click the certificates they want, and they'll all come in one go to their inbox. Is that right?
Exactly that, yeah. So we have, it doesn't matter where the property is. We work with approved trades in the area. So we've met them, we've vet them, we've checked their insurance, and we know they're good guys and good trades. And we use them to complete our certificates for us. So you would just want, like I said, one click. You'd order a gas safety certificate. We would have an approved trade in the area who would just go get the job done, come back and upload the certificate as a PDF up to your account.
Sounds good. So talking about your goals moving forward, what are your, do you set goals, or are they just kind of in your head, this is what I'm going to achieve over the next few years?
In terms of Safe2, or
you're a busy man, James.
in terms of Safe2 or property, sorry?
Both.
So in terms of property, like I said, my 5-year, well, within the next 3 years, we would have moved to a new family home to redo up. I mean, it was a 3-bedroom that we moved into. I put a little bit of extra into it for the 4th bedroom. I have 2 little boys now, so we each have our own room, and then there's 1 spare room anyway. So I'd like to, within the next 3 years, move home to do that again with the family. And for Safe2, within the next 3 years, we have set targets of having maybe 200,000 certificates through the site. So hopefully we'll be able to reach that.
And how do you do your goal setting? If you do any specific goal setting, how do you do it? Or are you like me and you don't? You just kind of
yeah, I kind of wing it. a lot of the time. I try and think of where I want to be and picture what life would be like with that. So, for example, with the family home, we're thinking about different schools and different areas. So I picture what it would be like living in this area. So I make sure I strive towards where it would be. So.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm sure your dad's had a very big influence on your property focus. But what would you say is your secret to success, or the biggest piece of advice, or the best piece of advice you've been given by someone?
It would. It's a bit of a cliche, but it's the biggest advice is having a close group of people that you can call on, talk to. I have. I said, being a plumber, I can do the plumbing, but if I need an electrician, I have a great circle of someone that can come and just do some electrics for me or ask a question. I made friends with the HMO officer, the planning officer. I kept the numbers, I regularly just check in with them, asking questions, and been able to have that network of people has been able to, no matter what question it is or problem, I have the circle that can help me overcome it.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people refer to that as their power team.
Yeah.
So a good accountant, a good lawyer, all the tradespeople, as you say, and that's definitely invaluable. Yeah. Is there any regular habits that you've developed which have helped you either move forward in your business or your property, or just helped you with focus?
Habits. Regular habits would be. It's just trying to stay focused, keep emotion out of it a little bit. It's the goal setting. It's the at the end of the day, you still need to switch off. I have that, so I have a habit of coming home, taking the property problems or the work problems with me, and so I've learned to be able to walk through my front door and leave them there. So yeah, it's definitely something that I really
which is really hard when it's your own business and your own properties. It is hard to leave out the door.
Yeah, it is. I'm still working on it, but I'm better than I was.
So in terms of resources that you have found useful to your business and to your property journey, can you give us a book, an app, and ideally a podcast that you would recommend to people? That helps you?
I wish I read some books, but I would say that I don't really read much property books, but I do listen to the property podcast. I think it's the Property UK. It's Rob and Rob. I don't know if you're
the Property Hub.
That's it. Yeah. So they're brilliant, and I think they come up with they're really good, and I like they have questions. I think once a week people phone in with questions, which some of the questions we all have. So as a podcast, I found that very very useful.
I love that one. I think it was UK #1 for a long time, and it there's lots of podcasts now, but I think probably they started. I mean, I know I was listening to it when I was working in London in probably 2012, so it's definitely been going for a number of years.
Yeah, I think I keep going back onto it, so I was late to it, so I'm a little bit behind, but they had their 7 or 8 year anniversary not that long ago.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and it was only I think it was yesterday. I was driving and I was listening to it, and they were talking about what the impact would be because of coronavirus and how it's going to be, and it's really really interesting.
And they're short and they're bite-sized.
Say again?
They're short, they're bite-sized, and they're easy to understand.
Yes.
So I do think
exactly that. Yeah, you don't have to listen to it for an hour, and you kind of zone out. It's very straight to the point, bite-sized, and it just keeps you going. So fully recommend that one.
So that's the book and the podcast side, but what about a resource? Do you use any landlording software or any other software that have helped you in your business or property life?
I like to. There's a lot of HMO. All of my properties that have our HMO. So there's a lot of HMO forums that I'm on. I can't remember the name of them. I think there's one big one that is nice. I don't post very often, but there's always a question on there that, you know, if I have a question, I'll go on there, and if somebody's already asked it. So definitely the forums are brilliant. And everyone's really nice. You think that they, you know, to ask, even if it's a stupid question, everybody's really nice about it. So it's always a good one.
Yeah, and I've found that in property everyone helps each other and supports each other. No one's rivals as such. Everyone's happy to share information, which is really refreshing, isn't it?
Absolutely, you know, I found that exactly. It doesn't matter whether they have the one property or you know 200 properties. They're all you know, the guy with the 200 properties will always give advice and help out, and there's no separation there, and I find that very nice.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, girls, we'll hand over to you if you've got any questions for James. Sam? Oh, Sam, you're on mute.
I've got a couple of questions, James.
Yeah.
In relation to your portfolio,
Mm-hmm.
Do you focus on a particular location, and why would that be?
Yeah, I focus around in town, so the HMOs that have all students, and I always try and go for around the centre of town-ish, Beavers Valley, because it's the best of both worlds. It's close to the Solent, so the Solent University would be the target I was at, because not only I think it's you know, it's close to the university, it's close to town, but in worst case scenario, it's good for professionals as well, because it is, as I said before, in 1 year I wasn't able to rent to students, and we rented it to professionals. It's still a brilliant location in the centre of town, because the professionals still want to be there, whereas the Southampton University is a little bit further out, like Portsmouth area or Swedling. So professional lets down there, I think, are not so much in demand.
Okay. And is there a type of property that you are focusing on in your portfolio?
I like ones with a big room. So as I mentioned with the first property, I was able just to put a wall or two up and still have massive bedrooms. So yeah, if they big rooms, I like big rooms and a big garden. I always think that a big garden is a good appeal for guys, you know, for everybody. When you're in the centre of town, so, or at least close to it.
What are your growth plans, perhaps for the next sort of 18 months with your portfolio?
Yeah, so at the moment, my portfolio for the business side will probably stay static. I want to see what happens with the student market and with the property market as well. But it's the family home that I will be concentrating on first. Get that done, hopefully. You know, with the stamp duty help or something like that. You know, it might be able to do something sooner than what I hope.
Do you self-manage?
Yes, yeah, it's all self-managed. Yeah, we do. Yeah, everything. It's just easier. Again, it comes down to having the network. No matter what the problem is with the property, I'll have somebody on my phone that can help out.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks, James.
Thank you.
Karen, do you have anything?
Hi, James. So you dabbled into development and it didn't turn out too well with the side plot. Have you still got your eye on doing some new builds?
Yes, I find that there's little nest eggs everywhere. It was only the other day that I drove past somewhere in the centre of town, and I saw somebody building a house on the side of a house. I thought, that's a good find. That's a really good find. So yeah, they are out there, and they're just few and far between.
Yeah, but are you still actively looking yourself as well? And if something comes up, hoping to do some new build or?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for definite. Like I said, you know, the family home is the priority. However, I will never be able to turn down a good deal. So if I do find something, then
that play, searching out your family home, sometimes, you know, particularly with the detached, say, family home, you might find a plot that can be partitioned off.
Yes.
And it has back access or something, you know.
Yeah. They said that they are out there. It's just being able to find them, you know, and it's staying in touch with the estate agents, making sure they know that you are still looking, and you know, to give you a call if something does come up.
Okay, and obviously right now we're in unprecedented times. You know, things are starting to lighten up a bit, but let's not forget COVID hasn't gone, it is still here. How's it impacted your business?
It impacted quite a lot at the beginning. Engineers were struggling to get into the property. You know, the gas safety still needed to be done, but either the tenants were self-isolating or the engineers were struggling to work. So to marry them up together was proving a little bit tricky. However, that has eased off, like you said, now, and things need to happen. Gas Safe were very good in giving us a little bit of I think they gave a 2-month leeway. If your gas safety had expired, they would give you a little extension, which did help everybody. But now, like I said, everything's a little bit lighter, so it is a bit easier. And I think more and more people are now having the time to sit down and think about, right, how can I make my property life a bit better? How, you know, I have all these certificates, and they're always a pain to manage. So people are thinking about, how can I better you know, progress. Because a lot of people that self-manage, everything can be a little bit of a mess. There is a lot to do for landlords, so they're all sitting down thinking, how can I help myself? And that's where we can come in and help them at least.
Yeah, I mean, following down on that topic, my electrician is fully suited when he goes into properties now. You have to follow that concept.
Yeah, absolutely. Masks, gloves, yeah, for sure, definitely. Social distancing best you can. You know, the tenants are all really good. They'll either, a lot of the EPC guys, because they have to go in all the rooms, you know, they ask the tenants to step outside for half an hour, and everyone's been very good about it. I mean, that's the thing about it, is that everybody is nice, they understand, everybody agrees with it. So it's not been too difficult to implement because everybody's in the same mindset.
Brilliant. Thanks, James.
Right.
Thanks, guys.
Can I ask,
go on.
I'm sorry, Sarah.
No, go on.
James, you've obviously seen over the years quite a variety of different tenants in your HMOs.
Yes.
HMOs are very popular for people to want to get involved in because they can see that as a great cash flow model. Have you got any tips? I'm sure you've had some horror stories with some tenants.
Yeah.
Perhaps you could give us some examples and what the learnings are from that, just so people can be aware of those sort of things and not have the rose tinted glasses that everything's going to be wonderful and they're going to cash flow this. You know.
Sure. Yeah. I think students are a little bit worse than professionals. Obviously, the biggest tip that I had to learn was not to be too precious on your house. No matter what the damage or the state of it, everything can be repaired. You do have the deposit, which is quite large, really. I think it's like £1,500. So you know, if there's a hole in the wall or the door's missing, there was a kebab that had amalgamated, just literally just sludged into and just stained the floor. We had to replace the floor because of it. That can as horrible as it is, it can all be fixed. And to think of it as a business and not a home, because obviously none of us would do that to our own home. So it's kind of horrifying when you see it. But when you think of it, it is a business, and anything that they do can be rectified pretty easily. So.
Take the emotion out of it.
Take the emotion out of it. Yeah, it is a business. It's a building. It's not your home. So yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant.
I think, to be honest, a kebab melding into the flooring is not too bad in the scheme of HMO horror stories.
Yeah, absolutely. But when it's in the bathroom, you got to question what they're doing it in there. So.
Okay.
Saying she's been using PPE for a while on her properties as well. So Priya has been fully PPE compliant for a while as well. But obviously we see the other side as well. I don't know about you, but maybe sometimes when you're on site, trades just walk straight in, no gloves, no mask, and they come right up close to you. I've had that a few times as well. You must have seen that, being in and out of properties. James?
Yeah, customers as well. We were on a new build the other day. There's a big extension, and the customer, it was a few weeks ago, and they were going through the plans, but she's right up in us, and she didn't have any kind of there's no PPE on her, and she was going through these plans, and she's right in your face. I mean, and in normal conditions, she was in your personal space, but under coronavirus, it was a little bit too close,
No, it's brilliant. Thank you.
Okay, James. So, if you had £100,000, you were still starting again, but you had £100,000. how would you invest it?
Good question. I would, in the times we are now, I would probably buy as many properties as I could with that. And I mean that sounds stupid, but instead of buying a more expensive property and then having a little bit left over to maybe do it up, I would probably try and squeeze 2 properties out of that, if not 3, depending on situation. And then because I think the house prices, the way they are right now, they're going to go. They're only going to go up from here. So if I could buy 3 houses today, I'd probably do that rather than one more.
So sort of 1-bed flats, that kind of thing.
Yeah. 1-bed flats. You know, there's you can buy. Actually, I would probably buy up a little bit. So I know like Manchester, things like that. They're the houses that the prices up there. Take away that you wouldn't be able to manage it. I think the prices up there would be much more beneficial.
Are your current investments all based locally?
Yes, it's because I have I'm a bit of a control freak. I want to be able to go into the house and do it myself. And yeah, if you had it away, it would take that away from you. But keep growing a little bit. I would probably would like to buy some property up north and maybe like Cardiff, Wales, and I think that may be better yield in that for it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are looking up a little bit and thinking, what can we do? The prices down here are certainly crazy at the moment. I don't know if there's going to be a dip post the stamp duty holiday and post furlough and potentially people losing their jobs. I personally think there's got to be a bit of a correction, because right now the prices are just absolutely mental.
Crazy, right?
Yeah. So I can see why you're looking up north. Okay, on the flip side of that, if you lost everything tomorrow, which I'm sure you won't, but if you did lose everything tomorrow, but you retained all your knowledge, so you woke up and you didn't have any money, would you still carry on in property? Would you still forge a property career? And if what would you do without any resources on the financial side?
Yeah, I would still stay in property. If I lost it, I would do everything I can to get back to it. Property, I love property because not only does it interest me, it interests me because you can put your own stamp. You need a certain amount of imagination, and you can put your own stamp onto every property. Even if you bought 2 properties next to each other, they don't have to be the same. You can make them different, and I like that. That your own stamp of property, you kind of express yourself, and you kind of that's when you work for yourself. You're probably working for yourself when you buy property and you're refurbing it. That's when you are really and truly working for yourself.
Yeah. So you stick with the property game regardless.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Absolutely. Girls, is there any social media questions that we want to put to James?
People are just kind of like wishing Sam happy birthday or agreeing they're complying with the PPE thing as well. So kind of I think they're listening really for tips and knowledge in that space, because there aren't too many of us that are gas safe engineers and things like that. But it's always good having the tips and I suppose something I can think of, an annoying thing tenants quite often report is the boiler's not working when all it needs is to be topped up or something like that. And actually that's something many people don't instruct their tenant on how to do, and it results in an unnecessary call out charge.
Well, the pressure.
Yeah. Do you have a card that you can kind of like maybe sell or offer as a kind of hook to customers in the future that tells them boilers do need this, and if this happens, this is the simple way to do it?
Yeah, actually, it's funny you should say that, because I've been to countless properties where the tenants, they have no idea how anything works, not only to fill up the boiler, but they look at the thermostat and they've no idea. They've never been in charge of a thermostat before. They have no idea how it works, and there are so many different versions of it that it is complicated. So I know when as a landlord, I definitely have a kind of what would you call it? I can't think of the word now, but at the beginning when you move in, you kind of explain this is that, this is how this works. induction. That was the word, induction into the property and how things work. And again, things are missed, like the main water stopcock. It wasn't my property, but I had a phone call from a landlord saying that there's water pouring through the ceiling of a house, you know, but the tenants, they can't turn off the water. They have no idea how to turn off the water, and it caused so much damage. I got there in 25 minutes, but it had already been going for 15 minutes. So there's over, you know, half an hour, 45 minutes of water pouring down when they could have just turned the stopcock off. They knew where it was.
No, that's brilliant. Thank you.
Okay, James, so finally, if people want to get in contact with you and find out more about you and about Safe2, what's the best way to do that?
Best way is probably just to email me. So you can email me directly at james@safe2ltd.com. Happy to answer just any questions. We have a lot of people, a lot of landlords that are recognizing that we do actually know, we do know what we're doing, and we don't know a lot about certificates, and we can even, if it's just a question, feel free to get in contact with us.
Do you have a Facebook page and
Yep.
website?
Yeah, absolutely. You can get us through there. It's just Safe2 Ltd. Same as Instagram as well. We're on LinkedIn. We're kind of everywhere we can be. And there's a web chat on our website, so safe2ltd.com. If you go on there, you can read it, and if there's still a question, there's a little pop up, and you can ask us questions. It'll come to one of us, and we can try and help you out.
Brilliant. Thanks, James.
No worries.
Thanks for joining us this morning. And again, happy birthday to you, Sam, and have a good day, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.